A Fox News alert. Just moments ago, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said the U.S. will not be impressed by words, but rather by action in Libya. She also calls for Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, to step down. This on the heels of the UN Security Council vote that authorizes international action, including a no-fly zone established over in Libya. But how does implementing a no-fly zone really work? Our next guest knows firsthand. Joining us now, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark. He oversaw the no-fly zone that was established over Iraq. General Clark, a lot of people say that Muammar Gaddafi has essentially won already. He has recaptured most of his country. The rebels who have been battling him only have Benghazi, basically. Has he done enough that at this point a no-fly zone is essentially irrelevant?
Well, I don't think so. This just moves the struggle to a different phase. Now, the question is, first, about the no-fly zone. There has to be an organizational, there has to be some kind of structure to this. You can't just have a bunch of airplanes. So will it be NATO? Will it be a coalition of the willing? And that has to be put together and started right away. Even though there's a ceasefire, I hope that the people who are authorizing this and organizing it will demand that they put the aircraft overhead to enforce the ceasefire, and that's a legitimate request. And then the question will be, how do we get on the ground and use the leverage provided by the no-fly zone to then take action against Gaddafi? Because it's clear, as Secretary of State Clinton says, when she says he has to leave, that's representing the intent of the United States government to force Gaddafi out. So this is the United States versus Gaddafi. I don't think we're going to want to lose this. So the action shifts to diplomacy. Now, what we have to anticipate Gaddafi's going to be doing, meanwhile, is consolidating his gains, running his intelligence agents forward into the rebel-held areas, trying to identify the leaders and threaten them and their families. So this is a tough phase of a continuing struggle.
During your answer, you used the phrase, we need to get on the ground there. You're not suggesting ground forces, are you? Because that's not authorized by this UN vote.
No, there'll be some diplomats go in on the ground. I don't think there are going to be any forces right away. Gaddafi was smart enough to declare a ceasefire and try to duck the weight of the UN authorities. So that obviates the airstrikes. We should have aircraft overhead and then put diplomats in on the ground.
Obviously, it seems as though he has, recaptured a lot of ground. They authorize, the UN does, this no-fly zone, and he says, oh, okay, ceasefire, we're done, no more fighting. Does that mean he's not going to get bombed? His air defenses aren't going to get taken out?
Might mean that, but remember, it's not about force. It's really about getting the objective. The objective is to get a democratic government in place in Libya. The Libyan people had a lot of courage. They took matters into their own hands. The United States waited to try to get international law on its side because we're not a nation that believes in might makes right. So we did have to have international law. We have that. The UN Security Council resolution is the force of international law to stop the killing of the civilians. Now it's a matter of using that weight to leverage Gaddafi out of office, maybe through elections or some other such means.
The former Supreme NATO Allied Commander, General Wesley Clark, thanks.